Hi, I'm Glenn Simpson, and I've collected comics for over 40 years, and I'm showing off my collection one box at a time. Today we're going through box number 20. We're going to finish up Batgirl, and we're going to get into some 1970s Batman. I'm glad you're here. I hope you will like, subscribe, comment. Let me know if there are any books in the packs that when I skip through, that you'd like to see. I would love to make a video just for you for that. And let's get going. All right, so we start with the New 52 Batgirl, which was the next series on our list. And we've got the 0 issue, which actually kind of came out a year in to the series, but numerically speaking, it's at the beginning. And then we get to issue 1. We have Barbara Gordon returning to the role of Batgirl after getting her spine fixed and being able to walk again. We've got issue 5 of that, where she fights Gretel. For all you Gretel fans out there. Oops, something fell over. Hang on. Issue 6, we've got a cool cover with Batman and Batgirl. That's a cool wall cover for those who are into that kind of thing. And then we go to issue 9, the part of the Night of the Owls, with the crossover amongst all the Bat books dealing with the Court of Owls. We've got Batgirl 10. Batgirl, I cannot remember this character's name, but she was kind of a pet character of Gail Simone's. She had her show up in a couple of different series that she did. Then we get to Batgirl number 13, part of the Death of the Family crossover with the Joker. Joker removes his face, which seems painful. Doesn't seem like something you would just walk around after doing, but he's a Joker. What do you do? So there's that. And that continues in issue 14. With, I think Joker fell in love, was coming after her. He's in love. Then we jump to issue 21. The new ventriloquist character created for the New 52 was a female, and Batgirl became one of Batgirl's enemies there. I think she would also turn up in a couple of places. Let's see, issue 22. We've got Batgirl. I think this was when the whole issue here was in the New 52. Commissioner Gordon no longer knew that Barbara was Batgirl, and he was out there trying to stop Batgirl from Batgirling. And so she's giving up being Batgirl or something to due to that, if I remember correctly. Batgirl 29 teams up with Strix, which is the sort of the good Talon that came out of Court of Owls, and they are going up against Silver right there. I think he was a vampire or something like that. Let's see. Batgirl 30, just Batgirl up against just a scurry thing there. And then we go to Batgirl 34. Another sweet, sort of just cool Batgirl cover. And we get into... I have get to the Batgirl variants. We have Batgirl 35. It's Monsters of the Month from October of that year. Variant by Kevin Nolan. And then we've got issue 39, the Harley Quinn, all the books that have Harley Quinn on them. This was around that time that they tried to do one with the Joker, but the one they did with Batgirl, you had the Joker and you had Batgirl like all tied up and crying and stuff, and everybody, like the fans, before it even came out, said no, we're not doing that. You know, there's no reason. You know, every other Joker cover, the hero is getting, you know, is beating on Joker or stopping him or whatever. This was the only one where he was getting the upper hand, and that's not cool. So they just didn't do one. And in fact, I think this was the last one. And it is a kind of a big boy book. A lot of people like this one. This is, of course, the movie poster variant, based on the Prince Purple Rain cover right there. Kind of hard to tell the issue number. It's probably on there. Well, I guess because it's the next one. 4. So this must be 40. Let's see. Because the next issue is 41. Part of the Jim Gordon as Batman run that they did. The big armored Batman. And this is the Batgirl crossover with Bats. We've got issue 48. Now we're into the Barbara. She's kind of living in the particular part of Gotham. I forget the name of it, but it kind of has the low rent costume. But she's hanging out with Black Canary. This being the New 52, a lot of history has started over. They didn't have as much of a bond at that point. 49. Batgirl, weird cover. Probably makes sense if you know what's going on in the story. And then 52, the variant cover, which is the latest artist doing a homage to the first artist as they ended all of the New 52 books going into Rebirth. And we've got some annuals. We've got Batgirl Annual 1 with Batgirl, Catwoman, and Strix, I assume, that we met earlier. And then we've got Batgirl Annual 3, Batgirl being reunited with Dick Grayson, but this is the point when his identity had been revealed to the world, so he became a spy, and the spy organization made everybody forget who he was, which means that she doesn't know who he is, and I don't know if he knew who she was, and that kind of thing. So then we go to the Rebirth series. A little change in scenery. A little change in costume. Change in supporting cast, all that stuff. That's the first issue. We've got issue 8 with Magpie. Those of you who watch the, Beware the Batman cartoon, Magpie from there. From before that, but that's one place you might know her from. We've got this Son of Penguin arc right here. They made everybody young, and yet they gave Penguin a son. And Batgirl dealing with that. And then we go to Nightwing has clearly gotten his Nightwing back on at this point, and now he's teaming back up with Batgirl against his Red Queen in the Summer of Lies. And the Summer of Lies continues in Batgirl 17 as Batgirl fights the Red Queen. And 24, issue 24 with Batgirl, a little Two-Face action going on there. If you're a Two-Face fan, there's a cover you might want. Right there. Got Batgirl 25, extra-sized anniversary issue. DC likes to use the word anniversary to refer to just a round number or some number divisible, easily divisible with it by 100 or whatever. And then we got 30. We got Batgirl back in more of a super suit. and dealing with some stuff with Jim Gordon there. Got Paul Pelletier doing the art on this. He's one of my, I like his work. Very Stuart Immonen kind of thing. So Batgirl 31 doing her thing. Batgirl 36 going up against, these were like very classic Batman villains, the Terrible Trio, and of course they updated them and made them, you know, much more horrifying for the modern times. 37, Batgirl, dealing with Killer Moth in the Year of the Villain. Right there. And got I guess, oops, what happened? She got turned into individual bats. I don't know. Batgirl number 40, right there. Issue 41. I think that this is not Barbara. This is somebody else who takes on the role of Oracle. Kind of steals it away. And it becomes a villain that Batgirl has to deal with. We'll go to issue 46. Bad guy covers people in metal, gold, or whatever. Freezes them up. Turns them into statues. Oh no. Issue 47. Uh-oh, Joker's coming to call. That's certainly never a good thing for Barbara Gordon. There. Oop. And then the series ends with Batgirl 50, after the end of the Joker War, with lots of the folks that we've just seen showing up in the series up to this point. That series had a couple of annuals there. One where she's teaming up with Supergirl, and one where she is communicating with her brother, the creepy James Jr. right there. And we get to something, we jump to the next series, which is actually, as of recording, very, very recent. The recent Batgirl series. This one has got Cassandra Cain as Batgirl. It's pretty good. We see a lot from her perspective and how she sees things. Very interesting. Got another cover of hers, number 4. Got issue 5. That series, the flowers are part of the plot there. And issue 8. In this series, we kind of get a bit of a new, I don't know, I don't know if it's new per se, it's probably new background on Lady Shiva and her association with Richard Dragon and the Bronze Tiger and that kind of thing, those characters from the 70s. Let's see. Then we've got Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, so they kind of had instead of doing just Birds of Prey for a while, it was Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. So we've got the classic ladies back together here. And on issue 1, issue 8, we've got a Nightwing who is apparently been hurt, and they're taking him back. Fun fact, he's macked with both of them at one point or another. It's good to be Dick Grayson. Issue 9, Black Canary doing her thing, kicking butt right there. Issue 16, a all-lady squad getting together because the men of Gotham are dying. So they're pulling in all the ladies. Stop that. I seem to remember liking that storyline. That's a pretty good story. Maybe I just like it because it, you know, pulls in a lot of characters. 17. Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. Right there. Jump into 22. Ooh, there you go. Dodson's sweet art by Terry Dodson, presumably, and his wife, the other Dodson, whose name I forget at the moment, doing cover, at least the cover on that. Got the full circle arc. Oh, and that's actually the last issue too. Okay, number 22. Let's see. Got, of course, all of those Rebirth series started with a one-shot. So Batgirl and the Birds of Prey Rebirth, one of your longer titles out there. I'm sure they're longer. Telling how they're getting together. There was a sort of Endgame storyline that I didn't know a lot of. It came out of a different series, but then some of these series tied into it. So I have the tie-ins without having the actual main plot. But right there, Batgirl Endgame. We have the sort of the holographic. It's got a weird reflection. Holographic cover on. There we go. Batgirl, the New 52 Futures End. Number 1, telling a potential future for Batgirl and her folks. They did these for all the books and had these holographic plastic covers. Then next, alphabetically speaking, we have Batgirls, with Barbara just directing Cassandra and Stephanie Brown, and everybody's Batgirl. Everybody's Batgirl. There's no one Batgirl. Everybody's Batgirl. It's fine. It's fine. As they have adventures, and I didn't hate this series. Becky Cloonan. So got that first issue of that. We go to issue 4 right there of Batgirls. Issue 5. Dude with horns, no eyes. Spoiler, kind of messed up. I think there was some. Oh, I think this was the Spellbinder. The character from Batman Beyond. I think this was a version of that. There. Batgirls 8. So Barbara has to suit back up to deal with this. Got some penguin going on at the Iceberg Lounge. Got spending their summer. This scene does not appear in this comic, as they used to say. Issue 9 of Batgirls. And we jump to issue 16. Batgirls fighting the Mad Hatter. There. And we go to issue 17. Right there with all the Batgirls on the cover there. And then that series ended with number 19. And they just kind of, I don't know, they didn't really part ways or anything. They're still around. They're just not having, they don't have a book together anymore. And then we have Batgirls issue number 20, annual, sorry, from 2022. They do kind of a body swap thing. I remember this one. So Stephanie and Cassandra are in separate each other's bodies, and they're each dealing with their sort of evil parent that they have in common. So good times right there. We've got Batgirl from came out during that first Batgirl series that we saw. We were in the last video, so go back to that if you want to see some more of that series. But Batgirl Secret Files and Origins, right there, just telling some stories and giving some more information. We've got this classic Batgirl special that came out, well, 88, and it was just sort of came out right about the time of the Killing Joke, and it was sort of intended to show that, kind of give Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, one last hurrah before the events of the Killing Joke. Mike Mignola, cover art for you Hellboy fans. Right there. We'll get to the Batgirl Year One miniseries, kind of retelling the events of how Barbara Gordon became Batgirl. Kind of part of the what is it? I don't know if there's Robin Year One. And now there's Batman and Robin Year One. There's Batgirl Year One. So there's like all the different Year One series for the Bat folks. Obviously there's Batman Year One. And then Batgirl Year One, number 9. I am Batgirl. Let's see. So now, officially, we are beginning the Batman series. All right. I've got one book from the big boy set I need to make sure I don't forget to show at the appropriate time. But anyway, numerically speaking, from the point in time in the late 90s, around 90, whatever that is, that 94-ish, when Zero Hour was going on, all the Zero issues were being published. Here's Batman Zero from that time frame. Then I got some facsimiles here. We got so don't freak out. These are just facsimiles. Batman 181. First Poison Ivy. We got Batman 232. I think first Ra's al Ghul. Right there. And we got Batman 237. Just kind of a classic Neal Adams Batman story. We got Batman 251. Another classic cover right there, much homaged. All right, now we get into real stuff. As I've mentioned in a previous video, I really mostly plant my flag in around January of 1976, so that's where we start. And so this is the January 1976 issue. So Batman going against some folks there in 271. We will jump to, make sure you're in focus. Yeah. Batman 275, where the game is over for Batman when he loses, apparently. A dot book, meaning an expensive book. Last time I checked, Batman versus the Spook. I had I think a Batman Family or something later on, or when I was a kid, that had the Spook. So he's kind of like a classic villain for me. There. Got issue 277. Batman going up against a kooky monster. Got Batman 278. The Ringer has struck again. We've got Batman 279. Batman and Robin up against the Riddler. Curse you, Riddler. I think this one's been, has this one been like reprinted? Not sure. And 281. Right there. Batman knocking some sense into those guys. We've got Batman 282. Sorry, hang on. Going up against a variety of hunter types. Right there. The Batman, ironically, going up against a villain with camouflage. Right there, Ernie Chua. These have all been like, I don't know how to say it right, Chua covers. Classic DC artist. Number 284. I remember, I guess we'll get to it in a minute, buying one of my earliest comics. The letters page was referring to one of these, this one or upcoming, but I just remember being fascinated by the Dr. Dzin references in there. Got 285. Batman continuing his fight with Dr. Dzin. Jim Aparo art. Good stuff, good stuff. What was that? That was 285. Okay, so now we get to our out of the big boy box, top loaders. We get Batman 286, classic Batman Joker fight. Right there. $287. Get a classic Penguin fight. Art by Mike Grell early on there at DC. I guess Penguin doesn't get as much love as Joker does, though. 288. I better speed this up. Penguin versus Batman there. Okay. They're not really clustered because they're all, you know, decent books or valuable, whatever. 289 versus the Skull. 290, continuing the fight against the Skull. You could be in the Superman movie. 291. The beginning, the Who Killed the Batman arc. Each villain claims to have killed the Batman, and they were gonna, well, those four, not all six, but those four. And we will find out which one killed him. Because he's dead, right? And testimony of the Riddler. So this is how the Riddler tells his story about how he says he killed Batman. And in one of the Lex Luthor, it's inside here, but the Lex Luthor one of those is one of my earliest books. But it's inside the pack. Batman 295, just your classic Batman going up against a bad guy story. Ooh, and speaking of classic books from my childhood, I don't think this is it, because I think the original was just so worn out I got rid of it at some point, but this is an early Batman comic for me. Bought off the shelf, as it were. Batman versus the Scarecrow. That's an awesome cover. Written by David V. Reed, which was not the guy's real name, but I forget who he actually was. Alright, Batman 297. Went against a variety of... Oh, Mad Hatter. There. 298. Dudes with red X's on their chests. Horrifying. Not as horrifying as $2.99. A chick with a red X on her body. Right there. Issue 300. Possible future, like first possible future retirement of Batman. Cool adult Robin suit, because they didn't know, they didn't have the idea that he might become Nightwing or whatever at that point. Walt Simonson art, if one is a Walt Simonson from Thor fame fan. Alright. 301, Batman murders some chick's husband, but why? Why did he do that? And we're getting into some packs, so some of the values not as great. Batman versus the Wirehead Killers. Right there in Batman 302. Batman 304. Batman's a ghost. Also over in Superman, they had the private life of Clark Kent, so here they did the public life of Bruce Wayne, where Batman basically just has to deal with something with that when he can't change, into Batman. Let's see. We've got Batman, let's see, 305? Can't tell. Can't see from here. Batman 305, I think. And some unsolved cases of Batman. Oops, sorry. And again, I can't tell what issue. It would be 307. Dealing with this killer that puts the coins on the eyes. Right there. Batman 308. Sweet Mr. Freeze. Cover there. Another one from my childhood. This is the original, I know, because for some reason, dumb old me thought it might be a good idea to put little red dots on all my books. Thanks, young Glenn. Batman versus the Blockbuster at Christmas. I have pressed it though, and it's been an activity of conservation there. 310, Batman, Gentleman Ghost, Joe Kubert. Alright. 311, Batman, Batgirl, Dr. Phosphorus for you Creature Commando fans. The animated series. 312, Walt Simonson coming back for a fight with the Calendar Man. For you, I think, the Long Halloween fans. Different look at the Calendar Man. 313, Batman, Two-Face. Extending, not just as his... He always has to sit exactly in that spot or else his apartment doesn't make any sense. There. 314, continuing that fight. Jose Luis Garcia Lopez doing some awesome Batman art there. Kite Man alert. All you Kite Man fans, here's your Kite Man. Really, literally, they don't just make him up for the cartoon. He's really a guy. Kite Man. 316, Robin, Crazy-Quilt. Later, this will come back around with Jason Todd's pre-crisis origin. He will fight Crazy-Quilt, and Crazy-Quilt won't realize it's not the original Robin. We've got 317, Batman and Robin versus the Riddler. Right there. Good stuff. We got Batman versus Firebug here. Weird thing. So Batman had a villain, Firebug. He had a villain, Firefly. Firefly was just did light. But then, like post-crisis or whatever, they made Firefly the guy who did fire, and we just never saw Firebug again, even though that makes much more sense. I should have just kept Firebug as the guy who deals with fire. Alright, Joe Kubert cover for Batman vs. Gentleman Ghost again. There. 320. Don't remember much about this. Oh, who is that artist? Can't remember. No. Oh no, but it's the Wrightson, Bernie Wrightson, I think. Because I mean, look at that. That's got Swamp Thing written all over it, right? Then another OG Glenn comic. Pretty sure with all these spine ticks, yeah, this must be the original. Number 321. Batman Joker captures all of Batman's friends. He somehow decides that Alfred knows Batman, and so he should capture him too. Classic Joker. Changing it up a little bit, they had Batman versus Captain Boomerang, Flash's foe. Let's get away from Central City where that Flash guy lives. Let's go where the guy has no powers. Right. Batman versus Catwoman for the first time in a while. In 323. Let's see. That continues in 324. This is another original Glenn comic here. I remember puberty kind of hitting and something about the curvature of her body. I liked it. It appealed to me. Let's see. A very kind of mark. That's unfortunately not on the bag. That's on the book. Copy of 325. There. And Batman 328. Little mystery, closed door mystery kind of thing going on. Whoops. Getting there. 329. Got the main story. Got Batman and Robin together in a second story, but in the main story, fighting Two-Face. Another classic Glenn, OG Glenn book. Batman and Robin having a spat over Talia and Batman's relationship with her. There. Number 331. Batman dealing with the Electrocutioner. We would see him again later in the Vigilante series, if I remember correctly. Another early sort of multi-issue arc. Before that was a common thing. The Lazarus Affair. Batman dealing with Talia and Ra's al Ghul. Catwoman first solo story. I believe that's why this is a red dot book. And we got some bundles here. We've got continuing that Lazarus Affair, plus you've got a backup of Robin and Catwoman, which was part of that storyline, but Robin and Catwoman have a side quest, and that was always interesting to me to read the two of them together. And then there we go. The Lazarus Affair ends with Batman fighting Ra's al Ghul on the flaming volcano. And then I go to 336 with the King of Crime, kind of a hokey old villain, wanting to know what happened to Batman. I think because he's been gone he's been missing because since the Lazarus affair, he hasn't been in Gotham. We've got 338, Robin back to having solo adventures. Batman versus the Sportsmaster, which would be the Earth 1 Sportsmaster, not to be confused with the Earth 2. No, I think this wasn't Sportsmaster. It was like some other, sports something else. It's like, oh, you're stealing the Sportsmaster's thing, dude. Another OG Glenn book, if I remember correctly. Batman versus Poison Ivy. Kind of back before she was an ecological person. She was just more of a plant-themed criminal. Like she's literally trying to take over lots of businesses. For those of you who watched the Ironheart series, that kind of sign over your business to me kind of thing. Although she's doing it with hypnotic lipstick. Right, we're almost there. 340. Batman battles the Mole. Coming up. Got Roy Thomas, who has come over to DC from Marvel, and Gene Colan jumping on the book. Also, previously a lot at Marvel. So Gene Colan particularly will begin a long run on Batman. 342. The Man-Bat is back. He had been a hero, then he kind of wasn't around, and then this is sort of where they start turning him into sort of a tragic figure slash villain, and covered by Dennis Cowan, early African-American artist at DC. We've got Batman 343. Gary Conway coming on instead of Roy Thomas. Got Klaus Janson, who would, do a lot of Batman stuff. Got a Robin solo story. Got 345. Still with Gene Colan. Dr. Death. Right there. Got 346. Make sure. Well, I assume you were able to see that one okay. Just gonna pull it back up real quick. All right. And 346. Get that in focus. Anyway, Batman versus Two-Face. Again. It seems like he fights the same villains over and over when you go through them this quickly. And last but not least, just a little Rich Buckler cover on 347. Kind of I think a couple of kids talking about their different experiences with Batman. So that is box number 20. All right, that's box number 20. Next time we will continue our way through Batman Volume 1 with box number 21. Again, I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you joining me, and I hope you have a great day.